Alrighty, hello everybody, and welcome to our session. So glad to have you on board. We are talking iOS 15 and all the new little tips and tricks that hopefully you can use on your devices. If you've not installed this already, I think now is the time. By the way, let me know in the chat which iPhone you have, and also maybe if you've already installed iOS 15, just so it's going to be good to know. Before we get started, as always, a couple of things to mention, which is, chat to us. So say hello to me in the chat panel. Tell me where you're joining from. Like I said, maybe let me know which iPhone you have and also what version of iOS you're running at the moment. Have you installed iOS 15 already? I hope so, because then you can follow along in some of our tips this afternoon. On top of that, there is also a Q&A option in Zoom. So if you've got any particular questions, be sure to use that and let me know what your questions are. And then finally, as you can see, two more things, which is you can also become a host on iStore Meets if you've got something great to share. So definitely reach out to our team using the email address you can see on the screen. And finally, share with us those things you've learned. So post something on Facebook or Instagram, and use the hashtag iStoreMeets. So we'll see your post. Look forward to what you're sharing. And you can also stand in line to win some great prizes yet. All right, I see I got a couple of chats coming through. Some of you have not installed iOS 15. So if maybe you're waiting to see what's new and if it's worth it, then I think this is potentially also the right session. So we're going to explore a few things and see what's new and see how they work and kind of just practically go through all the new features. So that's what's installed. My name is Marius, by the way, and we should be just about the hour for the session this afternoon. All right, so let's jump in. I'm going to put my iPhone on the screen so you can see my iPhone. There we go, running iOS 15. And let's start talking about some of the things we can do on our iPhones with iOS 15 that is new and improved, right? So let's jump straight in. And I think one of the first things I'm going to start with is notes. So I'm not sure if you are like me, but I've got a ton of notes, right? I have just about notes for everything on my phone. You know, almost every time I need to do anything, I go ahead and I make a note on my iPhone. So I end up just with like these hundreds of notes. And it's great to have all of them there, but sometimes it's a bit hard to find the right note if you got so many of them. So if anyone is the same, let me know. But there's some cool little updates to the Notes app, which I think you'll enjoy. And also it's going to make you a little bit more productive. So let me show you what I mean on iOS 15. Jump into the Notes app and you can see kind of looks familiar, right? So it should be kind of same as what you might be expecting or used to. And if I go into any of these notes, you can see there's all the little things that make up a note, which means you can put in photos and text and almost anything. But there's something new you can add to a note. And it does make it quite handy. Let me show you what I mean. So I'm going to go into a new note. And let's just call this a test note. And you can put obviously anything in here, like I said, photos or whatever. But a new thing you can do is you can also tag your notes. So how does this work? Essentially, all you need to do is drop in a little hashtag. So you can say just something like, let's just call this test again. And then you can go ahead and do your rest of your note. And essentially, you can put that hashtag anywhere. It doesn't have to be in the top. It can be in the bottom, in the middle, literally anywhere. But let's say insert a photo. So let's insert maybe a photo from our library here. Let's go and insert, I don't know, maybe this guy here, right? Add that to our note. So that's all good. But how does this now, how does this make it more useful? Quite easy. I'm going to go back out to all of my notes. And I can't see it just here yet, but if I go up another level, so I'm going to tap on where it says folders on the top left-hand corner, then you'll see it's actually got a little section there, which is called tags. And you can hide it if you want to, and you can show them all. But you can see there's my new little hashtag right there, which is test. And essentially any note that you've tagged will be able to be listed right here, right? So other thing you can do is also you can actually go in and specify multiple. So if I tap on that, I can say, let's say all the family tags. Let's see all the family ones together with camping, and you can see there's nothing. So you can actually have a nice little way to find something because maybe there's multiple tags and maybe multiple combinations, and you can use that to find exactly maybe the note that you're after. Maybe one more thing to mention here is you can also create something called the smart folder. So this is pretty cool. So if you look on the bottom, there's an option to create a new folder, right? But also you'll see there's an option to make a new smart folder. So a smart folder is literally just I guess it's going to be like a find or a search that's saved as a folder. And you can then select the tags, for instance, that you want to kind of be in that folder. And similar to what we did earlier, where we just selected the tags and it showed us a different note. This will be like a slightly more permanent version of that. So you can go ahead and create a smart folder, create a couple of maybe options in terms of your tags. And that's going to allow you to quickly find your notes, right? So pretty handy, I think, in terms of using that. So on your next note, or maybe even some of your existing ones, I suggest maybe start tagging some of them so you can just make use of that little feature. All right, so that's where we start this afternoon in terms of tags and notes. But let's move on forward and talk about some other new things. And I'm going to jump into FaceTime for this next one. So FaceTime also received some well-deserved updates in iOS 15. And let's see what they are. So I'm going to open up the FaceTime app on my iPhone. And you can see, there we go. It looks like this. This is a demo phone. So you might have a few things at the bottom that shows you like your recent calls or something like that. But what you can do, and this is new in iOS 15, is you can actually create a link. You can see on the top left, it says create link. So what this does is it actually creates a little FaceTime link. It's like a piece of like a URL essentially. And what you can do with this is you can then share this. So instead of calling someone directly, which I can do on that top right-hand green button, you can actually make a link and then send it to someone in a message, in an email, maybe even a whole bunch of people, because as you know, FaceTime, you can have up to 32 people on a FaceTime group call. So you can go ahead and at the bottom, you can see, go maybe copy it and share it and whatnot. So so that's pretty cool. There's also maybe one other way to do this. So let me show you the other way to get also to a FaceTime link. If I do this directly from my calendar, so I'm gonna head over to my calendar app, and I'm going to make a new calendar entry, call this test one more time. And you can see right below that, this is where you usually would put in the location of your meeting, for instance. What you can do here, or your calendar entry, you can tap on there to see the options. And one of them says FaceTime, right? So this is new. You can then essentially have a FaceTime calendar event. And again, you can invite people to this calendar entry, and yeah, they'll be able to respond, and also directly from their calendar apps on their iPhones, iPads, etc. They can join your call. But here's the cool thing. They can even do this, excuse me, from any other device. So even if they have an Android device or a Windows PC, right, they can join your FaceTime call using that link. And this is going to happen in the browser. So that's a pretty cool way of getting everyone on board. So maybe you've got a whole bunch of people in your family that like to be on FaceTime calls, but there's always this one person that's maybe not in the Apple ecosystem. You can also include them with that. So MJ is saying, why are we using Zoom and not FaceTime? Because FaceTime we can do up to 32 people in a call. In Zoom we can do more, right? So Zoom I think is nice for those conference type things, not necessarily just a catch up with your friends and family. All right, so that's pretty cool in FaceTime. Let's go back to FaceTime because I do want to show you one or two other things. So if I actually tap on that link to open up my FaceTime camera, there you can see another version of me. So what I want to show you inside of the FaceTime app, once you have started a call and you are maybe making a call and you've got a whole bunch of people on there already, what are some of the things that is new here in FaceTime and iOS 15? Well, essentially, let me show you. If I go to Control Center, so on the very top right-hand corner, and I just bring down my Control Center to show all the options that you might be used to. What you'll see is on the very top right-hand corner, there's something that says mic modes. So you can see I can actually go into mic modes, tap on that, and I can then choose different options for my mic. So I can have standard, that's kind of the one that you might be used to already, where it picks up your voice and tries to isolate you a little bit. But then there's actually one that is specifically to isolate your voice very particularly. So if you've got dogs barking in the background, maybe some traffic, maybe you stay on a street, next to a busy street, then this is going to be great, right? Because you can then be on that FaceTime call. And just back on someone's comment about Zoom earlier on, this actually works in other apps as well. So it doesn't just work in FaceTime, but it's nice to show you here. I can then turn on voice isolation and essentially cut out all that background noise. And I guess the opposite of that would be wide spectrum. So if you really want all those noises to be part, maybe the kids and the family in the background, you want them to be part of, I don't know, the call, then you can even do it that way as well. So a couple of cool things there that are quite nice to know about, right? And also maybe one more thing on the top left-hand side, it says effects. So this is on the video side of things. You can then turn on a bit of a portrait mode on FaceTime. So let me show you. I'm going to turn on portrait, go out of my Control Center, and you can see now, if I just kind of do that, you can see there's the background behind me. all blurred out, right? You can actually use that button at the bottom. So there's one in the middle. You can actually go and do that as well right there. But by the way, if you have an iPhone 10s and later, this feature is available to you. So I'm just letting you know, you will need a slightly newer generation iPhone. So anything from a 10s and later, you'll be able to do this exactly. All right, so going out of that for a second, and we're going to continue. I see we do have a question in the Q&A. So quickly, someone's asking about, do tags work on locked notes? So yeah, you can definitely put a tag in a note that is locked, but obviously to preview that note, you are going to have to unlock it. So yes, you can put tags in locked notes, but to show the contents of them, you're going to have to use obviously your password or your fingerprint or your Face ID. All right, so moving along, we're talking about FaceTime, looked at notes and tags. So let's continue and talk about another great feature, which I'm quite excited about. I'm not sure if anyone has tried focus modes yet, but let me show you focus modes. So focus modes is a great way really to manage, I guess, in terms of what notifications are you going to allow to come through on your iPhone. So for instance, you're in a meeting, you can turn on Do Not Disturb maybe, which will turn off all your notifications. But what focus modes allow you to do is now actually set up for a custom mode. So maybe you want certain people or certain apps to be able to notify you, even if you are in a kind of a Do Not Disturb scenario. So how do we do this? How do we turn it on? It is actually really simple as well. So you go back to Control Center. We were there a second ago. And by the way, you'll see those two options right on the top, the mic mode and the video option is now gone because we're no longer using any app that require that. But you'll see in the middle towards the left, it says focus. So if I just tap on that, it's going to turn on Do Not Disturb, right? Which will just kind of block any calls and any messages. But actually what I can do is I tap and hold on it, and it shows me all the different focus modes that I can use. These are some of the built-in ones. So maybe there's one for work and sleep and personal, and those are kind of there by default. But what's really cool is you can tap on that little plus button, right? You can see at the bottom corner, I'm in the middle of the bottom screen, and you can actually now create your own focus mode. So you can do a custom one. Maybe there's some of these other ones that you can do, like a fitness one, for instance, might be interesting. And as you can see, they're quite cool because some of them can actually turn on automatically. So for instance, because this is a fitness focus mode, as soon as you start a workout on your Apple Watch, for instance, it'll turn on this focus mode automatically. But what's cool about this is you can then add people. So who are the people, for instance, that you want to be able to contact you? So let's say only these people, you know, maybe family or for emergency purposes or whatever you want to be able to allow them. I can then say allow. You can do the same with apps. So maybe which are the apps that you want to be able to do and push through notifications. So maybe there is some important ones you want to add. And then, yeah, let's turn it on automatically. Why not? It says your focus mode is ready. So let's say done. And you can see here is now where we can see kind of a little summary of our focus mode, which is what we've specified a second earlier. But there's even more here, which is interesting to know about. And I want to show you this. So for instance, I can actually customize my home screen. So let's say while I'm in this focus mode, you can go where it says custom pages. Maybe you don't want to have all your apps available for you to just go and maybe, I don't know, maybe you just want to focus on something particular, and having those apps kind of around is going to maybe just distract you. So what you can do is you can say, well, only make these pages, for instance, available in this focus mode. So let's just choose that, go back to our overview and turn it on, right? So you can turn it on there, or you can turn it on from Control Center. So since we've now turned it on, essentially only those people I've specified and only the apps I've specified will be able to actually send through notifications. And yeah, it's pretty cool, right? So even my app pages, you can see it has taken away all the other pages, and I've only got my single homepage and then also my app library available. So if I turn that off, go to Control Center, turn it off, exit Control Center, you can see now again, I've got all my pages available for me. So pretty cool, right? In terms of how you can use focus modes then to set up different ones. So I've got one, for instance, that's called training, and I'm in it right now. So really it's going to not allow anything to come through. So any spam calls, anything that's going to happen on my phone and on my Mac essentially is going to be silenced until I'm done with this session, so I don't get interrupted. So that's quite a cool one. Hopefully you're going to try that and enjoy that as well. Let's talk about a couple of other cool little things. There's one here which is, I think, quite useful. It's something I think is actually really useful in terms of working with multiple applications, and maybe you want to use your pictures from one application in another, or you want to send text from one application to another. So you can copy and paste, right? So that's something you can do, but there's actually an easier way, which is you can just drag and drop. So I'm not sure if you've tried this out, but let me show you what I mean. So I'm going to go into the Photos app to show you maybe one or two things here. So let's go and go in here. And these are all the photos in my Photos app. And let's say I want to take some of these photos and I want to use them in either an email, or am I going to drop them in a note, or maybe you're going to drop them in a message. It doesn't matter, right? What you can do is you can simply pick them up. So how do you pick up a photo? So essentially just start dragging on it. So as you can see, as I drag that photo, I'm essentially picking it up and it's now being dragged around the screen. So, but because I've got more fingers available to still tap on other photos, I can actually add more photos to this little selection. So I can just tap on another photo and even another one. Let's just go with 3 for now. And you can see I'm still dragging it. So, but here's what's cool, right? I can actually keep that photos in the drag state and then head over to other apps. So essentially using, again, my other hand, I'm just going to swipe up to go back into the home screen. You can see that those pictures are still there. And let's go into an email. Let's make a new email. And as you can see, if I just drop them here now, it is essentially going to insert them into that email, right? So again, if you do this from maybe a message or into your notes or anywhere, right, it does work. And to be honest, it actually works with anything. So in this case, we had some text there that we had selected, but let's say you're on a website and maybe there's a link we wanted to share. So let's take that link over there. I'm going to just pick it up and drag it. You can see the same thing. I just tapped and hold for a second, and then I'm dragging. So I'm picking up that link essentially, and I can just now swipe on the bottom of the screen to switch between my apps, right? And I can actually just drop that. You can see it gives me a little plus button. I can drop it in there. And there we go. I've added a link to that message and some photos, and you can see that was as easy as that. So that's quite a nice one, right? In terms of just using multiple apps and just getting maybe content from one app over to another one. So drag and drop is pretty cool. We went Safari a second ago, so let's head back to Safari and maybe seeing what's new in the new Safari app as well. So I'm guessing this is an app that you probably use a lot in terms of just being online and browsing the internet. So let's see what we can do in Safari. I'm going to go back over there into Safari, and you can see we've already got a website open here. So firstly, what you'll notice is that the little URL bar tab, it's kind of right at the bottom, right? So this is different. You can see right at the bottom. That used to be on the top. So it is actually more convenient this way if you think about it, because you're probably holding it in your one hand, your thumb is right there. So if I quickly wanted to go to a new website, I just need to kind of tap on that, right? And you can see it's going to take me to that website. So nice and easy in terms of quick access. If, by the way, you don't like it down at the bottom, like here, you can change that. So let me show you. If I go back into my settings app and I head over to the Safari settings, so I'm just going to find Safari there. There we go. You can see I've got where it says tabs. You can change it there to single tab, which is going to be the older version, and at the top. And you can see we also got the tab bar, which is the new one at the bottom. And the reason it says single tab versus tab bar is if I head back over to Safari, you can see what I can do actually is I can swipe on that little tab bar, and I can actually go between my open tabs, right? So this is quite nice if you've got a few things open and maybe just jumping between a couple of different sites. You can just swipe down at the bottom and go from one to the other one. If you keep on going all the way to the end, you can actually then, you'll see the little plus button, you can make a new tab. So this is pretty cool, right? So if I tap on a couple squares on the bottom corner, you can see those are the 3 tabs that I have available for me in this particular collection. Then actually that leads me to talk to the next great thing about Safari, which is once you've got multiple sites open, tabs, you can actually start managing them in little groups. So I think if you're anything like if you use the internet like I do, I've probably got a couple of sites that I go to, a couple of technology sites, maybe some news sites that you visit frequently. But, I would probably go to the website that I go to and then, go to my bookmarks to go to the next one. And I kind of open these pages all the time, but I have to every time open them from scratch, right? So what you can do, which I think is really handy, is you can actually make little groups of tabs. So check it out. At the bottom there, you see this little button that says 3 tabs with a little downward arrow. So what you can do is you can tap on that. You can see it gives you some options, right? So right at the bottom, it says new tab group from these 3 tabs. So if I tap on that, right, I'm gonna say, what do you want to call this? Maybe this is your, I don't know, your tech news, right? If I can just spell that correctly, tech news. Hold on, let me just get this right. This is, oh, still not right. There we go. This is your tech news, let's say, little group. I can save that. And essentially, I can now, whenever I need to go and visit these particular sites, I can simply just go and tap on that again. You can see I can then jump into the different tab groups I have, and they will be there the way that I left them earlier. So quite cool in terms of how this allows you to, I guess, get around quickly to the most important parts and sites that you like to visit. So quite a cool one, right, in terms of doing that. So another thing that maybe you haven't seen yet is this is where it's not been here earlier, but what you can also do is you can simply swipe down on a web page to reload it. So if you had to reload, maybe get the latest version of a website, especially since you might have them in little groups now, you can simply swipe down, and this is something you should be quite familiar with in terms of using it in apps like, you know, maybe the App Store, or maybe your email to refresh. It's going to work the same way now also in Safari. Okay, so I think that's a couple of new things to mention in Safari. So let's move on and talk about, I guess, one of the headline features, right, in iOS 15. And if you've not upgraded yet, this might be the reason that you are going to upgrade. There's now something called live photos, which is in iOS 15, and it works in multiple ways, in multiple places. Let me show you what this does and how it works. So firstly, it actually works straight into the camera app. So if you just, let's say you go into your camera app, you can see I've got a book here on the table. I've got a little box there as well. So what I can do is actually just any object that has any text on it. So you can see here, if I bring that close, what you'll see is you see that little yellow block that goes around something that's identified on an object. So I can actually then tap on that little, you'll see at the bottom right-hand corner, there's like a couple of lines in a little square, right? So this is actually allow me to pull out that text from the photo. You can see it says cool daylight, and I can actually then go and select it. So I simply tap on that little word there, and I can then copy this, right, straight from a photograph, or not even a photograph, just from my camera app. So I guess the usefulness here is, imagine you are driving, there's a billboard somewhere, or maybe a sign, and you want to, I don't know, phone, a number that's on there, email address that's on there, or just copy some text. You can simply actually point your camera towards it, copy the text from the photo, and then essentially do whatever you need to do with it. So that's one way you can do it, right? So directly in the camera. But also another great thing here is it works not just in the photos that you are busy taking, but also all the photos that you have taken for however many years you've been using your iPhone, right? So all those photos, essentially, if I go back to my library here, you can see I've got lots of photos here. All those photos will now be selectable and even searchable in terms of the text that's contained on those photos. So for instance, you can see here some photos. Here's a good example, right? So there's a photo with a few things written on it. All I need to do is simply just tap on the photo, and you can see I can actually select it right there. So you can go and copy it, look it up. If it's a telephone number, by the way, you can see I can actually go and do that and copy that. And maybe you want to, I don't know, call the person real quick from there. It's even better than that. So let me show you. If I go into, there's one here, I think that is in a different language. So maybe you are looking at something that is a recipe in this case, in a language which is maybe not familiar to you. So check out how cool this is. You can actually go and firstly select the text just by tapping on it. So this is written text, by the way. So that makes it, I think, even more impressive, right? So I can go and select, let's say, that whole paragraph there up to, let's say, the 180 degrees Celsius. So we know it's something about baking, but we don't really know what they're trying to say, right? So you can copy that and take it to maybe a website to translate it. But actually what you can do right there, if I tap on that little right arrow, you can see there's an option that says translate, and it's going to pick up firstly that it is in Spanish, and it's going to give me essentially the English for whatever I've just looked at. So how cool is that, right? So you can even look at photos that's in different languages and translate the text. You can copy the text. You can search for the text. That's actually also cool. Let me show you that. So let's go into the search option on the bottom, the little magnifying glass. And let's look at maybe some of the things that it finds. I'm going to just type in a horse, right? So there we go, horse, and I'm going to tap on search. You can see it found essentially things about a horse, and even that. If you search for something that contains a word that is within a photo, you actually it'll even give that to you. So let's try that 180 degree. It doesn't seem to find that necessarily, or you're gonna have to maybe just try this on your side. But essentially, anything in your photos that is got text in it, you can even search for it, and it will go and find it for you. So pretty impressive, right, in terms of how that works. There's even one last way I want to show you how this kind of makes your life easier. So let's say you've got a whole bunch of text on a piece of paper that you want to, I don't know, get into selectable text, right? Maybe you just want to work on it on a computer and, I don't know, edit it some more, but you don't have to go and scan it first and then use some kind of OCR. What you can do is you can go straight from an image and turn it into text on essentially any application. So let me take mail as an example. So let's say you've got an email, and I'm going to make a new email. And in my body of my email, what I'm going to do, I've got a book here, all right? And let's say I need to put the text that's on that page into my email for whatever reason, right? So I want to send someone what is on. I can take a photo of it, obviously, but how cool is it if I can actually do the actual text? So how does this work? How do I get the text to appear? Well, I need to just tap on the screen where I've got the option to where my insertion point is essentially. And I've got select all, paste. You can see again, there's a little icon that looks like those couple of lines with the little square around it. So what this allows me to do essentially is I tap on that. I've got the book here. So let me just go up high enough to kind of select everything. You can see I have selected that whole page. I tap where it says insert, and yeah, it's actually taken that whole page literally within a second, right? Even quicker. And it has converted it into actual text, which I can then go and edit. I can, change it. So really cool stuff, right? In terms of how you can use your camera then to kind of find words on photos and even do that live and even insert it like that. So a couple of cool things that I think you're definitely going to want to go and try out on iOS 15. Again, this feature here does require, some of the newer iPhones. So if you have an iPhone 10s and later, then this is a feature that you should be able to use on your device. Alrighty, so we looked at quite a few things, right? So we looked at the Notes app in terms of making tags. We looked at, FaceTime in terms of the new options there, Safari, focus modes, drag and drop, and also more recently, live text. But there's a few things more to show you, right? So let me quickly go and check out and see what else we can look at. So let's talk about maybe privacy. That's always an important topic. I think everyone will agree. You have things on your device which you probably consider to be confidential and private. It might be financial information, it might be whatever. Like these are things that are obviously private to you. And Apple is definitely also trying to keep it that way. So there's a few extra things that's built into iPhone or iOS 15 now that actually just builds on that privacy first, I think, approach from Apple. So what I'm talking about, one of the things that is quite cool, it's called mail privacy protection. So you think, okay, what is mail privacy protection? Let me show you. If I go into my settings app, and earlier we went into Safari, but there's also an option for mail. You can see there. And if I just go look a little bit towards the middle, you'll see there's something that says privacy protection. So if I tap on it, it actually tells you what it is. So you can see mail privacy protection works by hiding your IP address and loading remote content privately in the background. So what this will do is if you have someone, what happens actually quite often, well, not maybe quite often, I think almost all the time, is when you receive emails like marketing messages from all kinds of companies, they send you this spam emails even. What they can do is they can actually track and see if you've opened the email, right? So they can see if you had opened the email, if you read it, they'll see how long you were on that email. So if you maybe spend a whole bunch of time on that email, they'll know that. They'll be able to possibly even pick up your IP address, so roughly where you are based. So these are things that are obviously from a privacy point of view, not so great. So as you can see here, and it'll kind of tell you all the things there if you want to go and read it all. But essentially, it is going to protect all of that stuff and kind of make sure that your privacy is protected. So a nice feature there that you don't have to do anything really. It's kind of turned on by default. If you just want to go check it out and maybe just read a bit more, you can definitely go and head over to where we've just seen it. So so that's pretty cool. But there's actually more there that is quite interesting when it comes to privacy and email addresses especially. And this is for everyone that's got iCloud Plus. So maybe you're not sure if you have iCloud Plus. So let me tell you when iCloud Plus is something that makes sense for you. This is essentially anyone that's upgraded your iCloud storage to any one of the tiers. So if you have even the 50 gig plan on iCloud, which is going to be 15 Rand a month, or maybe if you, kind of upgrade it even to the other ones, like, the 200 or the 2 terabyte versions, essentially then you get iCloud Plus. So what iCloud Plus gives you is a couple of additional things. And the one I'm going to tell you about now is quite useful. It's called Hide My Email, right? So how does this work? Hide My Email, essentially. And this is what happens whenever you sign up for a new service, new subscription. Again, they want your email address, right? You're going to have to put in your email address there. And from a privacy point of view, that's possibly okay for them to have your email address. But once you have your email address on just so many services and so many sites, again, as you might guess, you're starting to get more spam and all these things. So what you can do is you can actually set up like a bit of a burner email address, like a dummy one, right? So how does this work? Let me show you. Go back into Safari and let's swipe over to that second tab we had there, which was News 24. And maybe thinking about subscribing. So I'm going to tap on the subscribe button. And it gives you all the options there. And now if you are going to subscribe, you can see it wants your email address. So you can tap on that little field and obviously type it in. But what you can also do is as you look towards the top of my keyboard, you'll see it says hide my email. All right, so this is new, right? So what does this do? How does it work? I tap on hide my email. And essentially it's going to load up. You see iCloud Plus on the top, hide my email. It is going to then give you kind of this little bit of a randomly generated email address. You can see there's one there. I can tap on the little refresh button. I can get maybe another one if I want to have a different one for whatever reason. But essentially it's randomly generated. It's a couple of words and kind of numbers and letters that's just kind of jumbled together. And as I sign up for the service, I will sign up using that email address, and that'll still get forwarded to me, so I'll still be able to get the emails that they send me. But whenever let's say I want to cancel that service, I can then essentially just stop using that particular email address, and it would be like News 24 never had my email address to start with, right? So from a spam point of view and a privacy and a POPIA, all these things, right? It just kind of helps you not to have your email address in so many places. If I maybe show you where to manage all of that. So if I go out into my settings app, and let's go into iCloud. So you go all the way to the top of the screen where your name is. And you'll see there's an option for iCloud. So I tap on where it says iCloud. And you can see I've got iCloud Plus because I've got a 400 gigabyte option in iCloud. And you can see towards the middle that says hide my email, right? So I can tap on that. And it might want me to authenticate here. Let's quickly just see if it does or it doesn't. I'll give it a second to think about that. But essentially here is where you can manage all those email addresses that you had set up, because maybe you'd forgotten what was that email address and where did I use it, right? So what you can do is you can come in here, and it seems like mine is loading a little bit longer than I would like. So maybe you can check it out on your side if it doesn't load in a second. Maybe just check on your side and you'll see all the different ones will be there. And by the way, you can also go here to do a manual version of that. Oh, there we go. It's finally loaded. So you can see here are the couple of services that I've signed up on this demo iPhone. Excuse me. And what you can do is you can simply go into one of those. Let's Spark Post, and that gives you like the generated email address, and you can manage the settings, essentially forward it. And if you want to deactivate it, just deactivate it from there. Right. And also you can do it manually. So on the top, it says create new email address. So if you wanted to do it from scratch, you can also make a new kind of a dummy email address right there. Okay, so a couple of cool features, right, in terms of privacy, and that one's quite useful, especially from your email address point of view, and making sure that that is kept private. Okay, so we're going to move along. A few more things to chat about. It's let's talk about maybe photos. There's a few new features in the Photos app, which I think is quite nice to know about. So I'm going to jump into my Photos app and show you. So we've got obviously a library. These are all the photos in the Photos application. There's something called For You. And what happens here in For You is, firstly, it makes these little memories based on different kind of, I guess, it'll look at the location that photos were taken. It would look at maybe the time frame. It'll look at who were in the photos. And it kind of makes this automatic little memory collections that you can actually go ahead and play back. So it's quite cool. So if I go into, let's say, this one here, at the beach, right? So let's say you had a whole bunch of friends and maybe you just went to the beach. And what I'll do, it'll kind of start playing some music. You can't hear it at the moment just because I'm sharing this through my presentation, but essentially there's music playing. But here's the cool thing about this. I can share this quite easily, right? You can see there's a share button on the top, and send this out as maybe a bit of a movie to maybe my friends, and we can all enjoy this together. But also it is interactive. So what I can do is I can actually go and just scroll forwards and backwards, and I can maybe go to a different part of it. And the music will actually continue to play as if I wasn't even like forwarding and kind of reversing this little slideshow, right? You can do different things like change the music. So for instance, if you want to go and find some of the other Apple Music songs that you want to add into this, you can go and do that. And you can change the look of it. So it's quite cool, right? So it gives you this memory option and it plays back all these photos, and it kind of has some music to it, but it's interactive. So you can go and, forward and kind of rewind and kind of just find it and fine tune it until the place where you really like. And you can find maybe something that is really, I guess, nice to view, and then share it, right? So maybe show you one or two more options on the top. I can even manage the photos in terms of which photos are part of this little memory feature. And I can also choose a shorter one, for instance, and have even less photos, right? So a nice thing to go and check out here is how you can then use this to maybe just relive a moment. And it's quite nice, right? Okay, so let's see if there's anything else here to add. Those are some of the main things I think we wanted to talk about in the session here. So I think I've come to the end of that. What I'll do now is maybe open it up a little bit for any questions or comments. So if anyone wants to see anything again, or maybe there's anything that you want to see additionally, happy to spend a little bit of time of that. But essentially, those are some of the great new features in iOS 15. And I hope if you haven't upgraded yet, maybe this is just what you needed to go and upgrade your software. By the way, there's a new version coming out even on Monday, right? So iOS 15.1. There's a feature I can't show you yet. Maybe I'll quickly mention it, but there's a new feature coming out on Monday when that software will be updated called SharePlay. So essentially, if you want to watch a movie together with someone that is not in the same house as you, you can do this through FaceTime and actually share a video, let's say like from Apple TV Plus, and you can watch the video with someone else over FaceTime, and on both sides of both devices, essentially the same movie will play back in sync, and you can pause the movie again for both parties. And that's quite cool, right, in terms of sharing content. And movies is one example, but you can do the same with various things. And the more developers come on board, you hopefully will be able to do this with more apps even that is available on iOS. So with that being said, I think I'm going to say thanks for joining our quick little session this afternoon. I hope there's one or two things that you picked up that you'll be able to go and try out and upgrade if you have not done so yet. And as always, we would like to see you on more sessions. So do go and book for other sessions. Actually, there is a little QR code if you want to do that directly from here. And also remember to use that hashtag #ice2meets if you are able to share anything on some of the Facebooks or Instagrams of the world. You can also win some great prizes. But really, with that being said, thank you for joining. Thanks for being part. And we will see you on another session on another day. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.